I think a lot of times the coaches, we want to blame kids when they're not making shots or they're not doing what they need to do. But I feel like as a coach, we're going to be what we emphasize, right? You put together an hour and a half practice plan and it doesn't have no skill development in it. They could be executing those plays really good, but shots just ain't going.
Welcome to the Jamodi Podcast. We are all surrounded by amazing coaches and leaders. So let's get an inside look at not just what they do, but how they do what they do. After all, becoming the best versions of ourselves is Jamodi, just a matter of doing it. Today we are joined by the head boys basketball coach at South Houston High School, Frank Watson. Coach Watson has won 65 games in his 3 seasons as the head coach at South Houston. Prior to his arrival, the Trojans were 10-48 over 2 seasons from 2019 to 2021. He has the highest winning percentage in school history at 64%. They won back-to-back District 22 6A championships for the first time in school history. Coach Watson was awarded the Greater Houston Area Head Coach of the Month in January of 2024. His teams have achieved 100% academic eligibility on various occasions during his tenure as a head coach. Also this past season at South Houston, Coach Watson was named District 22 6A Coach of the Year. Before we hear from Coach, take a moment to subscribe to our podcast and follow us on social media at Jamodi Podcast. What's up, Coach?
Hey, what's going on, Matt? Good to see you.
Good to see you. Man, this is awesome. Thank you so much for giving up your time, coming on, talking some hoops.
Hey, absolutely. Love talking hoops, man. I love your platform. You've had some very prestigious guests on here, some high school coaches with 400 or 500 wins. So for me, it's just a pleasure to be in the same room that they in, and hopefully I can learn something today from you, within our discussion.
Well, I appreciate that, man. Thanks for checking out some of the episodes. Like you said, that's pretty cool. And yeah, it is. It's been a blast just getting to have these one-on-ones with, some of the best at in my opinion, at every level. And whether it's, D1, D2, D3, NAIs, the high school coaches, I feel like every talk I can get something out of it. And I'm excited to have this time with you because of not just the success you've had in such a short time at South Houston, but this is a Twitter connection. I'm just going through following people, and I just see guys saying amazing things about you, and so yeah, I wanted to have the time.
Hey man, God get the glory for anything that has my name on it. So I just appreciate again the platform and the time to be on here to talk with you.
Well, tell me a little bit about what's going on with you right now. We're just kind of finishing up from the season. So what's life look like right now?
Life for me is really catching up a little bit around the house. So
Nice.
in the off season, I get home earlier. And so that means I might have some more on the honey-do list when I get there, spending more time with my son, trying to get out on my barbecue pit a little bit more. I like grilling, but the
Nice.
weather in Texas hadn't been so suitable because it'll be cold some days, trying to catch up on just some good movie watching and TV show watching, because I'll say this is probably maybe not a good thing about me, but during the preseason and basketball season, I'm locked in. I'm pretty obsessed with basketball during that time, so it's good to be in the off season quote. We really don't have much of an off season here. We just call it spring training, summer training, and we're still working. But yet I am getting home a little bit earlier, spending more time with family.
That's no doubt it's important to decompress and like you, I put in so much into the fall and the in season time and to me, those months just fly by where some of the personal growth, it seems to slow down a little bit. I just don't have the same amount of time to either be in the word or also just be reading good books or listening to the right things. And then my wife and I, we are huge Survivor Big Brother fans, and so we kind of catch up on those and stuff. But I get it. This time of year, it is nice to take a break, unwind, and like you said, spend a lot of time with our families. That, man, especially our wives, they do not that they ever take a back seat to basketball, but they kind of go through that busy time with us. It's nice for all of us this time of year.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So you kind of talked about the time that it takes being a coach. What are some of those daily habits, though, that you feel like set you up for success?
Okay, daily habits. I think for one, the best habit that I have is I try to start my day with the word of God, and I try to end my work day with the word of God. Because I feel like we as human beings could work so hard and we could, try our best to have good relationships with people and, put together the perfect practice plan or whatever it is. But I feel if it doesn't have God's favor on it,
Wow.
you won't have sustained prosperity. But I think to kind of get to the nuts and bolts of what I think is a big part of what I do as far as the habits that I have on a day to day. So I wake up 5 o'clock in the morning, every morning for the most part, even on weekends sometimes. And so I got the Bible app on my phone. And with that app, it'll send me a notification. And so I'll start with the word and I'll do a devotional like 5 minutes. I gotta have a really good breakfast, but maybe not really good. I got this taco place I go to. I get a breakfast taco every morning before school, man. Eggs and bacon. They know my order.
They
when I
know
come
it.
in.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah. And then I gotta have a coffee.
Yeah.
I gotta have that coffee to start more because I need that energy. I need that pick me up to really get through my day. And I say in the middle of it, I need that structure and organization of like a action item list. And so I'm always putting things on an action item list for me to do. And that could be education based. It could be something regarding running a program. Do I need to go up front and check the mail? Do I need to go to the bookkeeper about some money? Like whatever it is I need to do within my day, and even like practice planning and scout, whatever, it's all in those action items that I write down. And that just kind of keeps me structured. And then fast forward to like after practices or after workouts. I got a good coaching staff. And so I got some guys that want to be head coaches. And so we're going to always do some type of brainstorm session after workouts. That might be 5 minutes. It might be 10 minutes. And we'll talk about just different things. Our main, let's just say kind of catchphrase around here is win the day every day. And so we'll have all of our players on the board and they'll either get an arrow up or arrow down. And we'll do that every day just to kind of constantly quantify where we are as a staff. And then, like I say, I like to end with the word. So before I leave my office, I don't know if you've seen a Joel Osteen cube. It's like a little blue cube. Matter of fact, I'm doing some free advertising.
Yeah.
Little blue cube right here, right? And so on the cube, you can hit like daily affirmation, sermon, daily inspiration. So I'll listen to something every day before I leave. And I got this idea. I was assistant coach at Goose Creek Memorial. I'll shout out Jamal Heyman. So we would stay up all night, man, on the board at Goose Creek. And at Goose Creek, we made a deep run. We went to the regional tournament 5A here. And so we never left the office without hearing a word from Joel Osteen. That's something I carried over into being a head coach that I think really impacts just my daily habits.
Man, thank you for sharing. I love the flow that your day has, starting in the word, ending in the word. That's a great nugget right there. A great approach. Tell me a little bit more about the arrows up and arrows down. Like what? Because I like the idea of getting together with your staff, and also love the idea of talking about your players. What makes an arrow go up? What makes an arrow go down?
If we felt like a player got 1% better that day. So the arrow up, so let's say we have our number one guard, right? He could get an arrow down just because maybe whenever we went into some competitive situations, he didn't play well. The arrow up is like vice versa. You have a guy that really played hard. And then sometimes that arrow up will dictate a kid going up a whole nother position. So we're real full transparency here. So all of our guards that play the 1, 2, and 3 spot, they're in a ranking system. And when they come into my office to the snack box, so we got this little snack box, they'll come grab snacks and go in and out. They'll look at the board and see where they are. And they'll see that arrow 9 times out of 10. And so it's just a way that we encourage everybody to win the day every day. Every day counts. You got to get 1% better. And those arrows basically kind of dictate if a kid potentially moves up or down in a couple of days. Yeah, based on their positioning.
Man, I love hearing that it's right out there in front for everybody to see. Good. Also, great idea with the snacks. You want players to hang around and to show up, have some food. And so
Yeah.
that's really good. But the fact that those aren't just a list or an idea that you and your coaches have and are talking about, kind of an evaluation tool there, but the fact that players can also see that, they can see themselves and their trajectory moving up and down. They can, and competing, comparing, sometimes it's not bad, comparing it to your teammates. Like when you see, because that can uplift them when they see, because of their hard work, they are moving the right direction. That comparison is great. Now, if they compare to others and because of where they stand or where others are moving, they allow that to defeat themselves, then we have to talk about how comparison can be a bad thing. But I think that's a great tool, man.
And it's a conversation piece too. Because
Yeah.
some kids, they'll ask, like, so what did I do to get a down arrow? And I might recall 3 plays. Remember, there was a loose ball and you didn't dive on the floor. Remember those box outs you missed today? So tomorrow, if I see you do those things, you might get an arrow up.
Yeah.
And then like I said, it's just a way to quantify all the little things that maybe aren't captured at the end of the day.
Man, clarity. Clarity is something that players want. When players go home and talk to the parents and they have really no idea of what we're thinking about their game, about their role, that lack of clarity, I feel like, is where a lot of problems come in. A lot of miscommunication comes in, or players are guessing what you think. When they see the arrow and then they ask the question, they get clarity on what you see. And like you said, I think that is a great conversation starter. Or on the other side of it too, it's a great way just to celebrate players. Like when they see the arrow up, man, maybe ask them why. Like, why do you feel like you did? I had a positive arrow yesterday, or you're moving in the right direction. Oh, it's because I'm really playing hard. Yeah, like I see that in you. So I think great tool, great tool.
What's up, Coach? Are you looking for a way to elevate your off-season skill development? Well, look no further. With the Ballogy app, you can build a workout with our library or create your own content. Send that workout to your players, and then your players complete the workout by recording their session on their phones. You can monitor and encourage competition with our leaderboards for every workout. Ballogy offers player development solutions in the palm of your hands. Get your team started today by going to ballogy.com for more info.
You talked a little bit about your culture already. Win the day every day. With that idea, culture is a buzzword that gets thrown around, but it's how we show up. It's how we want to do things. How does that drive performance?
I'll tell you this. I think that culture is almost directly tied to performance, especially when we talk about high school basketball. So if you have a team that, let's say you got a 20-point lead, character comes into play that last 30 seconds. Do those kids hold the ball out and stall it, or do they shoot it again? I think your culture dictates your performance in that. Or are you a team that could come back when you're down from a big run? Your culture dictates that as well, I feel like, drives performance. And then I think another good scenario is tough games. I say it all the time, tough teams win tough games. That toughness can be built in the weight room. It can be built by putting your kids in tough scenarios and practice, and all that stuff is culture based, because if you got a strong culture, kids are going to bond together for a common cause. I'll tell you something else. I think when it comes to culture specifically is those mental cues and those words have power. I think words have power. I've kind of seen other podcasts and people say that, oh, culture is just words. I think if, as a head coach and as assistant coaches, you kind of have a plan of what culture words we're saying and how we're going to say it different times. Like for us, for example, we pretty much have kind of 3 tiers to our culture. And so the first one, we talk about player characteristics. So what do we want our players to have? So we'll talk about unselfishness, discipline, and toughness a lot. Okay, so those are our 3 player characteristics that we emphasize all the time. I'm always talking about it. Assistant coaches are talking about it. We also have, okay, how do we want to look as a collective and a group? So for us, that's our 4 program pillars: trust, enthusiasm, integrity, and unity. And then what's the big picture? So when kids walk out of this school, South Houston High School, and when they're adults, We want them to be men of impact. We want them to be men of high attainment. And they practice that, here at the school. For example, I like to say men instead of young men because I feel like other cultures, they have kind of rites of passage to where you become a man at early ages. Just African tribes, just kind of throw it out there. They might have a rites of passage at like 14, 15. Different cultures, they had that rites of passage into manhood early. So for me, it's like, if I'm in charge of these young men to really grow them up, I'm gonna refer to you as a man and expect you to behave in a certain way, and so that's kind of like a nutshell of what our culture is and how we build it. I think when we talk about those player characteristics, that's stuff that has to be kind of embedded in you. And a lot of that starts with us. We got a workout we call the fourth quarter workout. And so that was created by my assistant coaches and myself. And basically what that fourth quarter workout is, it's a 20-minute high intensity interval workout. It's not necessarily about building strength. It's about building those player characteristics. So basically how it would work is, and hopefully I'm not, being too wordy.
No, it's good.
But how it would work, the fourth quarter workout is, so we'll have 4 stations. Each station will have a lift and a rack. That could be bench press, squat, whatever the lift is. Okay, then they'll have another spot in the station that's a calisthenic workout. It's burpees, jump tucks, whatever. Then there's another station where they're lifting a barbell, or let's just say they're lifting a kettlebell, right? And so the workout is constant movement through each step, right? So you're literally going 20 minutes lifting something, jumping some kind of way, or doing something for 20 minutes. And so that last, let's say 2 minutes, we bring them all together. And so this is where that unselfishness comes in. Last 2 minutes, we bring them all together, and they might have to do, let's just say, burpees for a constant 2 minutes. Now, if you quit in that 2 minutes and you're selfish, then the 2 minutes starts over. And everybody has to do that exercise for 2 minutes. And so I think that's where the unselfishness comes in. Because if you're tired and you quit, guess what? You've hurt everybody in this fourth quarter workout. Or let's just say you're just lacking the toughness you need or the discipline or whatever. And so we instill it that way. But then we also instill that stuff with a lot of the social things that we do. Like, our parents are good about inviting kids over to the house to just hang out. We've had crawfish boils. We've done different projects at the school. We've opened the gym up after a parent meeting and had a social where we played like dominoes and cards and things. So for me, culture definitely, at least in my experiences, drove performance. Everywhere I've been, I've seen that be the case.
Man, I think you nailed it. Culture is everything. It's everything that you do. What I love about some of the notes I just jotted down, like you player characteristics, like that could be skill based, but could also be some of those intangibles that we look for. Then you go into the 4 pillars, things that guys can, that kind of rules or ideas that they have to live by. You include, the workout, the weight room in your culture. Like my point is, culture is everything. I think we're guilty sometimes of compartmentalizing culture to small bits, small times. Here's our practice plan. Hey, culture moment. Like, there's nothing wrong with a quote at the beginning. There's nothing wrong with one slogan for the year. Like, all of those things are good. But if you just check the box of culture with that, but then it's never addressed again, it's no standards are upheld again. Your weight room, like, a great question for coaches: does your weight room workout look like your on-court workout? Because I think as coaches, we're very good about our on-court workouts being hyped, energetic, enthusiastic. We all have a plan. All right, we go to the weight room and coaches huddle together over at the side and talk. There's no spirit, no enthusiasm. Like, then you talked about bringing in the other stakeholders in your program, because coach, it's not just me, you, and players. It's our parents. They are a part of the culture with us. And I've been guilty of keeping them at an arm's length before. But instead of that, bring all the stakeholders together and let them be co-creators of that culture. and feel like they're a part of it, man. I think you nailed it.
Yeah, because I think as coaches, we gotta tap into all the voices that influence them. Because if you have parents that are just outright against you, it's going to be hard to get that kid to move in the way you want them to. And so, for me, I'll just say since I've been in South Houston, I try to be personable with parents, for the most part, but also you got to try to keep a healthy distance as well. But I think with all of that, the more your parents are bought in, it's definitely going to aid. And then when you talk about like administration and the people around you, the more that they're bought in and supportive, I think the more the kid is going to be able to give you and the better experience that they're going to have. And so when we talk about culture, it's not just varsity, it's our freshmen, and it's our JV and everybody that's involved in the puzzle.
Coach, have you always been that conscious of building that culture from your freshmen all the way up, including parents? Is that something you always have done? It's just natural for you? You saw somebody do it right, or you just learned over time?
Man, I saw some people do it right. So my first experience as a coach, I was a student assistant at Sam Houston State. This is back in like 2004 when Bob Marlin was the coach. And so at that location, then I was at University of Houston when Tom Penders was there as a grad assistant. And so both of those locations, that's probably about 4 years of my life, man. I was a sponge. I soaked up things. I wrote down. I had my little basketball Bibles where I would write down all kind of notes about things. And so both of those places won. Both of those places had players that went and played overseas. Both of those coaches, specifically Tom Penders, is a college basketball Hall of Fame coach.
Yeah.
Bob Marlin is still coaching Louisiana Lafayette. And then even the assistant coaches there. I learned a whole lot from those guys, and they gave me the ability to really access like everything from the coaching side of the program. They used me. Sometimes they would use me on the scout team to play against the players, and sometimes they would let me help with video. Sometimes they would, let me help with scout. And so, man, I'm really indebted to those guys and all that information. So to answer your question, I think that's where I was able to see good culture because like even that staff at Sam Houston State, a lot of those guys that were on that team, they've helped me in my career. Like, matter of fact, Marcus Ebo hired me in my first high school job at Goose Creek Memorial, and he played at Sam Houston State. My best friend played on Sam Houston's team. And then U of H, I have connections from players at U of H. And so all of that culture, when I was talking earlier about as a man, being a man of impact and high attainment, I've witnessed that as a young man through basketball, being involved with different cultures at different colleges and things like that. Because for me, man, I'm pretty much a middle low-caste kid from Angleton, Texas. Didn't have the money to travel a lot of places, but basketball has taken me all over the world since I was young. Places I would have never been able to go or see if it wasn't for the game. So that's pretty much where I get a lot of the culture stuff because I've seen it done other places.
Man, great reminder along our basketball journeys to make sure that we always look to cultivate those relationships that are right around us. You never know. You never know when a relationship with a opposing coach, somebody that you're working for, players, like you said, may come back and be really important for you, and not doing it in a way like you're always trying to get something, but those relationships that the people God puts in our lives, like there are purposes for that. I think when you got tunnel vision and maybe you're not zooming out enough to really take advantage of those moments, then you might be missing out.
Absolutely.
Coaches, the Jamodi podcast is powered by Shoot 360. The future of basketball has arrived in Dallas-Fort Worth. Shoot 360 combines the latest sports technology with the fundamentals of basketball skill development. The result is a one-of-a-kind video game-like basketball program designed to improve your shooting, dribbling, and passing. Visit shoot360dfw.com to learn more and register for your free 1-hour workout evaluation. Shoot 360, the future of basketball is here. In this time of year, when you and I are talking, it's in the spring. So not off season, but improvement season, like Kevin Eastman says. So what are some of those improvement season expectations for your players?
But for us, I think that we want the kids again to be unselfish, disciplined, and tough. And so in the off season in particular, because and so we talking about spring, right? You have to be unselfish to give up your time after school because after school you could go home and these kids are big video gamers and
Yeah.
they want to be on social media and things like that. So you got to be unselfish and say, hey, 4 days a week after school, I'm gonna go do the strength and conditioning workout, and then after that, I'll participate. And so we have player led like shot club where they go out and do these different shooting drills, and it's all on them. So they'll do that maybe 3 times a week and have an open gym once. Sometimes they'll do it twice and have they'll do the shot club twice and then have open gym twice. So for us, that's number one. I mean, just being unselfish, and we want you guys to really commit to it, and then being disciplined enough to where um, doing what you need to do in order to get better, and then the toughness side too, because sometimes like that strength and conditioning, like I was telling with the fourth quarter, that could be strenuous. So show some toughness as well in the off season, because at the end of the day, we really just need everybody doing what they need to do to get better.
Mm-hmm.
And so we'll keep attendance too. That's something else we do, like spring off season, and we do it spring, we do it summer, we do preseason. So the attendance more, the trick to that is to get the players to kind of police themselves. And then also the thing with attendance is normally the person that's attending the most is going to get the most growth. And so right now, matter of fact, this week we just finished out our spring testing right after spring break. So we'll do 3/4 sprint, we'll do lane agility, vertical jump, we do a 3-point shooting contest, we do bench press, and then we'll do like squat, right? So 6 weeks from now, they'll do our regimen 6 weeks, and then we'll have another test where you're supposed to grow something. You're supposed to have some improvements because you've shown that attendance and you've been here, right? And the one thing I've seen after being here 3 years is those kids that see that growth, that measurable growth, they're bought in. Like when summer training comes around, they're here. We ain't got to worry about calling nobody and checking to see, why didn't you come today, so forth and so on, because I feel like as a staff, myself and assistant coaches included, we got a good regimen where kids are getting better. And so if they show that unselfishness, that discipline, that toughness that they're supposed to, that we ask, they're going to get the measurables. They'll see themselves getting better. The only, I guess, caveat to that will be, how much does a kid really want to get better? Because sometimes you have a kid that might not care a lot about basketball. But I think, if you're ever at a place where kids care about basketball and they want to get better, and you tell them like, hey, got to be unselfish, got to be disciplined, got to be tough, and then they police each other with that attendance, because we don't punish them. If they're not here, we don't punish them.
Right.
But during those summer games, you got a guy just because, summer games, all that stuff is voluntary too. You got a guy playing on your team and he gets out there and he's terrible. It's like, hey, we hadn't seen you, dude. Look at your attendance. You got to start coming around so we can perform better as a team. So that's pretty much, I think, what we expect of our players in the off season. And when I say off season, that's spring, that's summer, that's preseason. It all pretty much look the same. We're playing games pretty much year round.
Yeah. I think peer pressure that has such a negative connotation to it, but within a team sport, within a group, we need to tap into the positive side to peer pressure. Where guys are reminding each other of doing the right things.
I like to say peer motivation.
That's better. Motivation. Peer motivation. Yeah. But like we do, I think so many times we let that go or we don't tap into that. And I'm trying to figure out maybe why. Maybe we don't take role. Like I'm thinking to myself, like I don't take role because I don't want to make those players that aren't there feel even worse or whatnot. Or maybe, maybe I think really at the end of the day, it's like I'm basing their attendance and their growth on hope. Like I'm hoping that they come. I'm hoping that but I don't really create, and I'm just saying me, but any coach that feels that way, maybe I don't have a system in place like you have where that positive, that peer motive, what did you say?
I say peer motivation.
And that peer motivation comes through.
Yeah, and so like we're a multi-sport school here, so you'll have kids that were maybe in the basketball off season that go to track and do other sports. And so with those kids, like I said, it's not a penalty for not being here. When they're sport, like when they're done with track, they'll hop back in and we'll put them on the list and it just goes forward. It's just a way for them to like police themselves. And
Yep.
as coaches, we don't hold it against them. But I think what it does do is it keeps a good high standard kind of going year round to where you know, let's say if you take a family vacation for a month and you come back, and let's say if you're a freshman and you've been a part of this culture, by your junior year, yeah, I'm gonna go with my family, whatever. Coach not mad at me, but when I come back, these guys are gonna be in shape. These guys are gonna play. So when I'm on my vacation, let me put up a couple shots. Let me do
Yeah.
this and do that. So like I said, it's just good peer motivation
Yeah.
to use that attendance.
You mentioned the shot club that you got going on. Shooting games are some of my favorite ways to train players. What's one of your favorite shooting games that you take your guys through?
Man, that's tough. I'll say, like, let's say if we're just trying to train the guys to just have better placement and better, more target practice with their shot. Then there's a drill we use called -1, which is basically a point system. Let's say if we're just trying to have fun with them. If it's just a fun thing where the coaches are involved and everybody, we got a game called Trojan Knockout. If we want to work on contested threes, and we got another game called 21 shooting that we do. That's basically you got one guy closing out on two and they got one pass before they have to shoot. So, and maybe I should explain those. So like with the -1 drill, basically we like to use all 6 baskets.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say at one basket, they're all doing the same thing at all the baskets. So at each basket, there'll be 4 guys at each basket. And then there's 2 teams of 2. So with -1 is basically a play on points. So -1 is a miss. +1 is a make. +2 is nothing but net. So the reason why I like that one to be my favorite is because the kids are aiming and getting nothing but net. So at each spot around the world, we could set it as you got to have a +3 to move to the next spot. And so it's competitive. So they're shooting against the guy on the opposite side. So for example, let's say you start in that right corner and let's say I'm shooting against you. You're on one team, I'm on another team, right? Let's say I miss my first 2, I'm -2. Let's say you make your first one regular and then you make it nothing but net. You're +3, so you're moving on to the left wing.
Yep.
So the drill just moves where you have to get so many points going around. And then once you're done, you switch out with your partner and then they have to do the same thing. And the way we manage that as coaches is we'll just put time on the clock. We'll just have maybe 7 minutes. Everybody's playing -1. So if it's like the player led side, they'll do the same drill, but we're not out there really instructing it. Whereas if we do it during the period anytime else, then we're instructing them through it. The Trojan knockout game I was telling you about for fun, I actually got that when I was at the University of Houston, where the coaches would get out there with these players and you're basically jockeying for a good spot in Trojan knockout. Whatever your hot spot is, that's where you want to go.
Okay.
And so basically what that one is, it's like a follow the leader type shooting. So we might have 10 guys circled around the perimeter of the 3-point line. So that guy in the right corner, he starts it. Let's say he misses it. Then the next person makes it. If you're next to somebody that make it, then you have to make it or you're out. So let's say the next 3 guys make it. If you're that 4th guy and you miss it, you're out. That's your knockout, right? And so it's a process of elimination where we're shooting, trying to see who can make the most. And then once you get down to the end, the last 2 guys, you might make 6 or 7 in a row. And that's a game I like playing as far as just the camaraderie of it all and just getting out there with the kids and things like that. So that one's favorite for me. And then 21 shooting is one I stole from San Diego State during the Final Four because they came and did those open practices at NRG in Houston. So I went and my wife was excellent. I got tickets, even though it was free. I had tickets to the Final Four for my birthday last year.
Oh,
so
that's big time.
Oh man, I went in there with a little notepad and stole some drills, and that 21 shooting is like a contested shooting drill I saw them do. And that's something I really put into my program almost the next day.
So you said 2 guys, 1 defender, 1 pass. Where does the defender start? Where are the shooters at?
So they'll start. I can show you. since I'm in my office.
Yeah,
I
you're
don't know
good.
if you
Oh,
can
yeah.
see the board.
That's perfect.
But so we'll do this. So let's say this is the offense, right? So
Yep.
he's the passer, then we'll have a rebounder and two shooters. So the defense will all be kind of lined up here,
Okay.
right? So he could throw it to either one of these two guys. He's going to close out to the first one. So let's say he throws it there. He's going to close out here. He could shoot it on the catch. If he can't shoot it, he could throw it here.
Yeah.
Defense closes out and he can shoot it there. But they can only make one pass
Yep.
out of it. And so it's continuous. And let's say the circles, they'll play for a whole 3 minutes and see how many shots they can make.
Oh, I like that. Yeah.
Then they'll flip. So then the X's go to offense and
Yeah.
the circles go to defense. And so you work in two things. You working because for us in my program, we really train closeouts. So we have to be, I think closeouts is kind of the backbone of defense. So we're training the closeout. We're training, the shot making with a hand in the face. And so that's pretty much what 21 shooting looks like.
That's good. Hold it right there, Coach. I'll explain real quick for anybody that's just listening to it, but the ball is going to be in one of the alleys. You have a shooter in the alley next to it. So if the ball's in the right alley, shooter in the left alley, left corner, defender starts under the rim, and you have another offensive player rebounding on the pass to the pass has to go to the corner, the first one.
The pass can go to either person.
Okay, so pass can go to either one. Defender has to try to stop the first shot, force a pass, and they have to shoot after that. That's really good. Coach, I'm going to put you – go ahead.
I say, yeah, and that defender is live. He could block that shot.
Yeah. I'm going to put you on the spot because I agree. Closeouts are important. How do you teach it? How do you teach a closeout?
So our closeouts, we're going to do high leg, no middle, and we want to jump tip threes. And so the jump tip part on the closeout, so we're running, we're going to get there. But then once we get close and we see that guy kind of in a shot pocket going up, I teach my guys to go tip the ball. Because for me, when you're dealing with high level shooting, you can't just put a hand in the face 9 times out of 10. You got to get up there and discourage and run him off the line. Now, I will say like last second scenarios. So say if it's 5 seconds to go and they need a 3, then I'll tell them straight up, look, we're not jump tip.
Yeah.
We don't jump tip these because if he gets you in the air and make that shot and it's foul, it's a 4-point play. So that's pretty much the basic way, even though for us, we are like heavy midline. And so there's some like X outs that are really tough that they'll have to do on the weak side based on where the ball is thrown. And so on that X out, we're sprinting there. You're going to sprint 75% of the way. I know some coaches getting away from teaching kids to chop their feet.
Yeah.
But I like to chop their feet so that when they jump, I want you jumping vertical. I don't want you jumping out towards the player. Because if you're jumping out, then I could bait you and I could draw you for a foul. Whereas if you're just vertical, even if you're not all the way up on him when you jump vertical, that vertical discourages a shot enough to where when you land, you should be able to turn and get back into play.
And it encourages, which I've been interested in that, it encourages more mid-range play, which, so many coaches and schemes now, and we're guilty of it, not guilty, I agree with it too, is we want threes and frees, threes and then inside the lane. So that a lot of our shot charts, if you look at the wings outside the paint, it's clear. But you take away our 3, you force us to attack, you have good help. And we try to do that defensively. We try to think, okay, let's force them to take what is, in our opinion, the lowest percentage shot or worth the least amount. And so I like the idea of being super aggressive to take away or make threes harder and maybe even encourage that mid-range game.
A lot of times, let's say in that scenario where a guy shot face because he doesn't want the 3. Some guys, they're just going to dribble, drive, and pitch it out for another one. Yeah, we just do the same thing. It's very few that really want to stop and pop and pull up and shoot.
Or are good at it. I felt like over the years, if a team does start to shoot a lot of mid-range jumpers, especially off the bounce, in my mind, I'm thinking we're going to win out in the end in this battle. They might hit 1 or 2, but over the course of the game, I like our chances there. So that's good.
The Jamodi Podcast is powered by Sideline Interactive. Sideline Interactive is the leading manufacturer for high-quality, innovative scoring tables and LED video display boards that help coaches and schools bring more excitement to fans create huge fundraising opportunities, and make their jobs easier. Visit sidelineinteractive.com to check out their amazing products.
Individual skill development, how does that work into daily practice and maybe even more in season? Because I feel like out of season, majority of coaches would say that they believe in skill work. Sometimes in season, it becomes hard to fit it in with team practice. So how does that work into daily practice for you?
I'll tell you what, man. I'm a big skill development guy. So for me, you need players that are skilled to win you games. There's no such thing in my book as a perfect play or a perfect offensive structure that's just always going to give you, something beneficial. And I'm more just talking about in half court sets. Because I think if you're a good offensive transition team, then yeah, you could get a lot of buckets that way. But when it comes to skill development, I want players who can, once they get the space, they can make the shot or they can create spots. They can create shots for themselves. So for me, I'd say even during the season, we're going to dedicate at least 40 minutes a day to skill development. Now, within that 40 minutes, I'm not going to try to do everything. So that 40 minutes, we'll concentrate it basically on maybe 3 skills. So we might do 20 minutes of contested shooting, where we might have that 21 drill I just showed you, and we got another one, 34, which is basically kind of a similar type of drill where it's scrambling around, it's contested shooting, it's competitive, the losers have to run. So we might do that for 20 minutes as just really shooting game shots at a good pace. And then the other 10 might be ball handling that we're doing, whether it's ball handling one-on-one, making decisions out of traps, just different things that are based on getting better. Even 1-on-0, I like to do ball handling with dummy men, the dummy men that stand up.
Yeah.
Because I think cones, when you got those kids looking down at cones, that hurts their development. So we'll do some ball handling drills with dummy men, and then I'm big on finishing as well. So we might do another 10 minutes in skill development. We do our Arizona finishing drill and just some different things to have them working on really finishing against an opponent, finishing just, 1-on-0, Euros, pro hops. Because for me, I want a player that can get me buckets or get the team buckets. It's probably a better way to say that, and we got to train these kids to do that thing year round, man. I think a lot of times the coaches, we want to blame kids when they're not making shots and they're not doing what they need to do. But I feel like as a coach, we're going to be what we emphasize, right?
Yeah.
So you put together an hour and a half practice plan and it doesn't have no skill development in it. They could be executing those plays really good, but shots just ain't going.
Man, I think
shots to go.
Yeah, I think the way that you view individual skill development and how much time you give out of your practice plan, I think it says a lot about the offensive culture that you have. Because you can have an offensive culture, defensive culture that is different. And what I mean by that is like it's possible offensively to run only set plays for one person, where the truth is 5 or 6 of those other dudes that are on the team, like that play, don't really need to shoot much. That's a style. That's a culture. And if that's the case, then man, like don't spend a lot of time on individual skill development. If you want to open things up, play with pace and in some space. Chris Oliver talked about with basketball immersion, he talked about you have musts or possibilities. When you're running plays, it's almost all musts. You must catch and must do this. You must reverse it, then you must pin down. And then you must, or you could play in a world of possibilities where when you have the ball in your hands, you have that 0.5 second to, can I shoot it? Do I need to move it? If not, I'm going to drive it. Coach, when you're playing like that, they got to have skill. Like you got to be careful how many guys are on the floor that can't do those things, or else those good defensive coaches will sniff that out, not guard them, and all of a sudden it's 5-on-3. So I think the way that you play really dictates how much skill development and how much emphasis you put on that.
Absolutely. And I'll say, like, within the main, let's just say the base offense we have for our program, we talk about freshmen all the way up to varsity, basically a pistol action, zoom action type of offense, to where they're going to run a handoff into a ball screen. 9 times out of 10 most of the time, unless we're running different sets. But the thing is, what if you come off that ball screen and you don't have space? At that point, yeah, it's a if then type of situation where, okay, yeah, if we're running such and such play, I could pass it here and then screen away. But for me, I want to catch that defense off guard. And let's say the 5 actually switched that ball screen. We were talking about a pistol.
Yeah.
I want my guy to be able to make a move and beat him. And so that's why we emphasize even, and we're pretty structured. Like we're going to run plays when we don't have anything offensive transition. But yet in those different scenarios, I want my players to read and react situations and be able to create, you know.
And it's not that, okay, when you say, like when I say running plays limits some players, well, not if your plays are creating double gaps in space, not if your plays are creating advantages, right? Like that's what you want. When that guy does get in that place where he receives the ball with an advantage, can he take it? And can he make the right read off of it? Because if again, most plays out there are multiple options that you can take from it. But do the guys that are in those positions have the skills and the awareness to make the right read to either cash in or, move it?
And closeouts too. Reading closeouts is big for me offense. There's a lot of times when you go back and watch it on film, you'll be like, man, why did he just rip and drive that guy? Why did he shoot that? Why did he do this? And so for me, like I said, being solution oriented, you got to teach guys how to read closeouts.
Yeah.
And what does closeout look like for me to shoot it? What does it look like for me to rip and drive? Like it really, and so when I say skill development for us, it's not a whole lot of just kind of like 2-ball dribbling and stationary. Ain't nothing wrong with 2-ball dribbling, but I'm saying a lot of our stuff is scenario based.
I was going to comment on that because I think you're right on the money. So many times we talk about skill development, coaches will almost roll their eyes thinking of med balls and cones and foam rollers and 18 different crosses. But I think obviously there is that side to it that's out there. I do like to dabble in the cones and med balls, and I call them accountability tools. Just a way for me to ensure that all of them are getting to a certain level of low. But going back to, I think what you do is what coaches really can look into is take the style of play that you have, the actions that your players are going to run, and make that into skill development. Put those guys in those situations where they can rep those things out. Instead of, I think what happens, and I'm guilty of it, is we're going to run this action. We're going to call it 5. All right, go 5 on 0. All right, we ran 5. All right, let's play. Well, really, that guy only did it one time and against no defense, but we want them to be great at that action against 5-on-5 situation. Man, break down what you do into small-sided games, into small areas, small parts, and rep it that way. That's skill development for sure.
Yeah, because that's the thing. When we have our pistol, basically DHO drills, well, they'll understand. And when they're dribbling into the handoff, they can Uno it, which I don't want to give too much of my stuff away, because my district opponents are listening. But if they Uno it, that means you fake the handoff and keep it.
Yeah.
And so we have drills where they fake the handoff and keep it and then Euro into a layup. Or they receive the handoff, they come off that ball screen and shoot a mid-range. Or we hit the roll. The roll man gets it, he does this. And so, it's like it's a progression of the play, and they'll be just doing maybe 3-on-3.
But it's good skill work.
Yeah. And it's basically offensive breakdown stuff.
Yeah.
Skill. Yeah.
But you can put more balls on the baseline, and you can get all 3 of those guys shots every possession, where after the handoff action, the guy that doesn't receive it, let's say he does Uno, he keeps it and he goes, that guy that was going to receive the handoff can turn and just open up for another shot. That's what I'm saying. Like skill development to me can be really fun, where I'm almost tricking them into, they're getting better at the things that I want them to do, but we're still getting a ton of shots up. They're handling it with either hand. But I am going to go back to my Pistol Pete roots quite a bit, and I'm going to get some wraps, some 2-ball, and do a lot of fun stuff like that as well. Analytics are such a big part of the game. I mean, what happens in the NBA trickles down to college, trickles down now to high school. We feel it, especially with things like Huddle, that make it just so easy for us to know exactly what's happening in games. We don't have to just go by feel or what we think we see anymore. How do analytics? What role does that take in your style of play?
Analytics play a big role for me as far as just, style and play, or just say my coaching style. But I will say, if I have to really kind of think about it, I would say my eye test would come first, like what I see. Then second would be analytics as far as the video breakdowns, or what does that show me? And then third thing would be gut. And
Hmm.
so I think those three things are kind of characterize kind of my coaching style, and even just style of play from the standpoint of how I make decisions. So when it comes to analytics, basically, we're going to get video of everything. So we're going to film a lot of practices and put it up in Huddle. During spring training, we play those spring games. We're going to have a video there. We're going to video it. And I'm going to look at that. We're going to look at video from the summer, preseason. Every time we're playing basketball, I'm getting video. And I like to watch the game after the game,
Yeah.
just try to compare my eyes to what I thought happened to what actually happened, on the video. And I'm a big scouting report guy, which may not be too highly popular with high school, but again, a lot of my influence is from college with those guys at those college programs. And so, I'm really big into scouting. And obviously, to do a scouting report, you need video. And so, what we do as far as analytics, we played 35 games this year, I think. And so, I would say out of those 35 games, I done easily 28 scouting reports. And so outside of like tournaments, some of those tournaments
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
you get
Quick
on it
turnaround.
late,
Yeah.
quick turnaround, might not be able to get it, but analytics plays a big role in a lot of what I'm doing in Huddle, because I think it confirms what I see, and then it
Yeah.
also makes my gut better, because your gut is kind of what you're using to predict the future for the most part, or try to predict something that's going to happen. And for me, if you're not watching, ain't nobody that smart to just catch it all off your eyes. If you're not watching that video after the game and kind of, compiling information to figure it out, analytics is a big part for me in what I'm doing. Yeah.
Coach, I don't think I've ever heard it said like that, because you're right. Those three things, eyes, analytics, and feel or gut.
Mm-hmm.
But what I think happens quite a bit is we go off of one of the three the most. And there's danger in that. There's danger in only going off your eyes. You said what you think you saw. Do you really think do I really think I'm that smart that I can really keep it all in and just, paint a clear picture of what just happened? Analytics.
Mm-hmm.
If you only go by analytics, then you should do what Houston Rockets with D'Antoni did, which is the guys that shoot mid-range had their faces up on the board, and not in a positive way. Like that, they were, like that was a bad thing. You do not want to see your face up there. Well, what if you have a kid that is actually good at that, can hit a mid-range jumper off the bounce? To me, that's super dangerous. To have a player that can do that, hard to guard. And so, but if you're an analytics guy, pure, you don't let him take that shot. And then gut, man, our feelings, sometimes they betray us. Sometimes our emotions, how much we care, can get in the way of making the right decision at the right time. But what is really good is a balance between those three things. I don't think you cut any of them out. I don't think any of them can run it. I think all three of those are important.
Yeah, man, you need it. I think and I think as coaches, if you coach for, let's say, 30 years, unless you're lucky to just always be in a spot where you got kids that can really play, I'm passionate about winning, man. I want to win games. And for me, you got to have those three things to figure it out, because you might not have kids that's just going to be great defenders or be great shooters. But as a coach, like I said, these kids going to be what you emphasize. So how do you know what to emphasize if you're not really, using those analytics and the gut and, having a good eye?
And I was trying to think of like, what are ways that you can train those areas as a coach, because
Oh boy.
without just having the 30 years, like, I
Mhm.
mean, I'm halfway to 30, right?
I
So
ain't
it's,
got.
but it's like, I think the way is, and our girls coach, Matt Garnett, is really good with this. He's great at watching film. Every time I see him, I feel like he's got huddle up and he's clipping things. If we want our players to spend time at their craft and to get better, and we want to have better eyes, meaning we see the game at a higher level than we did last year. We want to understand our analytics and really know, does this style of play that I'm asking our guys to do, does the math actually match up? Is it really helping our guys to be the best they could be? And then
Mm.
help those moments in games where we just got to, I know analytics say this, my eyes say this, but my gut says this. Coach, I think we got to train those three things. And to me, it's film. It's going back over the games from last year and actually becoming a student of the game all over again, because that can't just
Right.
happen when we're assistants. It has to continue as we get older.
Absolutely. I was looking at your bio. You played at Baylor, right?
Long time
So
ago.
I'm pretty sure that, you guys did scouting reports and recaps and that type of deal. So for me, that was my biggest influence when I was at Sam Houston State and at University of Houston. That's how I learned, when I was younger. And so for my players, they have notebooks. So we'll
Nice.
do a scouting report, which I try to limit the scouting report to maybe 20, 25 minutes. So before the game, we do the scout. Then that scout, it'll be detailed for the most part. They'll have like the top section will be potential impact players. And so we'll have 5 guys, potential impact players. It'll have strengths, weaknesses. Then it'll have how to win the matchup. And so this is where I think the learning tool is for most kids. So um, I have specific guards that always kind of guard the best player. And so how to win the matchup may be 2 things. Okay, his favorite move is an in and out. And then he's a great spot up shooter. So you got to jump tip his three, whatever it is, right? So as a player, whenever they start getting those how to win the matchups, that makes it personal to be like, okay, cognitively, I got to remember what this kid is going to do and what his strengths are. And then I also know how am I supposed to basically win the matchup.
Hmm.
So that way, once we get to the recap after the game, that same kid, I like to do a compliment cookie and film, right? So let's say you started with a compliment and say, hey, well, this kid, he really did well in his matchup, and I'll show the different, clips and the stat breakdown or whatever and say, hey, you did this well, but you didn't really jump to these threes. So he went 3 for 4 on you, but yet he didn't get 20. So you pretty much won the matchup. And so when you go through, like I've had guys that have played for me 3 years here. So some of them have sat through almost 100 film sessions and maybe about 70 recaps over 3 years. So I think like when you said about like, how do you learn it? If one of those players want to become a coach, he already has a background of, basketball terminology and maybe even understanding like the when to do what
Yeah.
to say, okay, you got a kid that's really quick. When I played really quick kids, my coach just had me guarding with space. And I understood what his go-to moves were and how to kind of jump certain places and try to beat him to spots. And so, yeah, I think there's definitely a way to train it as a coach. There's a way to train it as a player, but it takes time. You can't just show up and get your stipend check and go home. As coaches, you got to really be a student of the game yourself and keep learning.
What are some ways, and I think film kind of ties into this, and I love the compliment cookie. That's good. Um, what are ways that you can maybe use film, or what else do you do to build confidence in players? Because throughout a season, um, you can really see players go on roller coasters. I know I did it in college. I saw my teammates do it in college, and that's a high level, and they struggle. Well, our teenagers are really going to struggle at times, and you could just be the coach that head in the sand. They'll get over it. They'll bounce back, or we can help them get their confidence back or return to a certain level, what do you do?
That's tough, man. I'll say that one of the biggest things that I try to do is our player meetings are going to be goal oriented. Now that might not happen. That's kind of more of a training period type of thing. So that happens kind of quarterly. But that's one thing we do to build confidence, because in that player meeting, I'm going to tell you what I think you do well, and I'm going to give you, depending on the time of season, you may have accomplished 2 or 3 goals from the spring that you were supposed to have done by the summer. I think from a video standpoint, with that setup of having the scouting report and then the recap, that builds confidence in the kid. Because I'll tell you one thing, I've had kids this year that I just kind of threw into being like lockdown defenders. And so in the beginning, it was kind of like, maybe I'm quick and fast enough. I'm not sure if I'm really a lockdown guy in our press. But then after a couple of games and they locked down some people, it was like, oh, okay, well, maybe I could do this. So now you build confidence in the kid to do something. And then I think another thing, public acknowledgement. So I think I was talking about, or I think I mentioned the snack box earlier, kids kind of coming in and out. And so for us, that's a way on a daily basis or a weekly basis, that's relationship building. We're not always talking about something basketball related. We could be talking about the football game or, something going on in the school, any type of current. It could be anything, just shooting the breeze. But I think within that time, you could tell if a kid is lacking confidence from practice. And so I could pull them aside and ask them what's going on, so forth and so on. But I think that those 3 things, we talk about video, public acknowledgement, especially social media. And then what else did I say? I said video, I said public acknowledgement.
And snack box meetings with them.
Yeah, the meetings, the player meetings. So I think all that stuff can help build the kids' confidence. And sometimes I have some blind spots, man. My assistant coach might see, have you noticed so-and-so is a little down? Or we had a bad game where he went.
Great role for your assistants to have is to assign them small groups of players and say, like, listen, I really want you to watch these guys closely. And they need to know what is going on. And then ultimately, it's not that we don't as head coaches need to know, but they can report back to us if something is big going on. I think that I like that kind of progression through, because you don't have time every day to hit every kid, but your assistants can.
Exactly. And then, every kid has value, even because we have what's called a sophomore team here, sophomore, JV, and varsity. And I've sat in meetings with, kids on the 9th grade B team, just because they're all a part of our culture. Whether they become varsity players or not, we want to build men of impact, men of high attainment, So yeah, building confidence in kids for me is a big part of what we do as coaches.
You mentioned social media. How do you use that with building confidence, but also highlighting your program?
I'll tell you this. I think that social media pretty much nowadays, a lot of people are going to get their news from it. Social media could dictate some people's moods for the most part. And social media is a big part of society now. So for us, we want people in the greater Houston area to think positively about South Houston. So how do we do that? Social media. We got a whole social media team. I got a parent who does a really good job with flyers. I have an assistant coach he's one of the stat coaches, but he's also the stat compiler kind of after the games. And so he'll come to me and say, hey, so-and-so had this many points, rebounds, so forth and so on. I've had assistant coaches that type up a social media post and send it to me, and I'll post it. Now, I'm the only one that has the posting part, but it's a collaborative team effort by, like I said, the parent, assistant coaches, and myself, because we have to, anything that we do positively, we want to put it out there and promote it. For me, there's no such thing as bragging. There's no such thing as, lacking humility when it comes to when you're a part of an organization that you need to have a positive, social media presence. And then it helps with like our feeder pattern around here. Yeah. When those middle school kids kind of see, South Houston had 27 wins this year and broke the record, or Xavier Muhammad broke the school rebounding record. Jordan Buckner broke the assist record. Like, we need all of that positive stuff. And then we do like community service projects or summer workouts, weight room. All of that stuff goes on social media without hesitation. And we got a team to put it out there, man. And you just got to have, because for me, I'm a little bit old school when it comes to social media. When it comes to like my personal stuff, like if you look at my personal Twitter or my personal Facebook, it's pretty much all basketball for the most part. My daughter plays softball. I think she just got MVP of the tournament, so I posted that.
Nice.
But I don't post a lot of what I'm doing personally on social media.
But I'm not going to see a picture of you having that breakfast taco with your coffee.
Oh man, I might need to start doing that, man, and then like doing a post with just various breakfast tacos on there and where to get them, man. That might be a good hobby now.
Yeah, he's the taco coach, right? Yeah.
I'm the taco coach. Yes, sir. And I know all the good gas stations to go and get a real good breakfast taco.
But you're right on the money, coach. If you're not using social media to highlight your players, to highlight your school, your culture, the amazing things that are going on. I mean, there's so much negativity on social media. What if, coach, our program, we used it to highlight positive things? Like what if, right? Shocking. And just make it, because we do want our players to have humility. Mm-hmm. So, but also self-promotion, like especially with players wanting to be in college. Ryan Masad at Gasso has a whole platform called Recruiting Simplified that is incredible. But you know what? I would have struggled as a player with it because it's so much about promoting yourself. They need to do that. But what if as a program we came along outside of them and not just shared their information, but also put more out to where they feel like it's not just them. Like we have an entire staff and program behind them and players and families that celebrate them. I think that's a way that we can use social media.
Right. And I want to just like full transparency too. I will say when I'm in the heat of the season, sometimes I do get bogged down, and that's where my assistant coaches come in and say, hey, did you see so-and-so had a video? We had this guy, his name is Kenny with Hoop for Life, and he did a whole like documentary on us. And he was doing like player video. It was just so much video coming out, man. And so for me, I'm in my lab watching film and trying to scout. And so after a while, I was just like, hey, man, just telling my assistant coaches, just let me know if it's something we need to post. Because right now, I'm not really, watching it the same way that I normally do. But it definitely is out there.
For younger coaches that are starting out, our assistant coaches, I think we're getting to the point at the high school level where obviously your basketball background is important, but if you could also add on your resume something with Photoshop, social media, like organize. I don't even know, Coach. I don't even know what it'd be called. Like, I think those people will become very valuable because I know for me, I do care about like X's and O's and development and relationships, what you can bring to our program with that. But I do all of it. Like if you go to @GFCSMBB, I'm the only one who does that. And coach, it can feel like a full-time job. That would be a way for an assistant coach to maybe get a leg up over other resumes that are also being put in front of that coach.
Hey, I agree with that. You definitely need it. You need that positive impact on social media for your program. Yeah,
but even because obviously at the college level, they've got humongous staffs. They do an NBA. They do an incredible job. But like I'm thinking of guys like Duncanville High School. Like they have somebody that is just their social media account and they do everything like employed. Like that is next level. But I don't know about you, Grade 5 Faith Christian School, not that Duncanville budget, but it's just something that I think we do need to be aware of. I don't know a lot of coaches are, but let's figure out ways to maximize that presence. Coaches, we are all searching for ways to better evaluate players in order to give meaningful feedback. Over 15 years ago, I put together a test called the Jamodi Skill Rating. The JSR takes players through a series of tests involving basketball skill or athleticism, giving them one rating at the end. Their JSR rating will give you clarity on what needs to be discussed with players and parents on areas they need to focus on improving. I test our players at least 4 times each year. They're able to compete against each other, past players' scores, and most importantly, their past performances. If you'd like to start testing your athletes, email me at jamodipodcast@gmail.com for more information. Coach, the speed round. These are going to be quick questions that first thing that pops in your head, just blurt it out. We'll get to know you a little bit better.
All right. Let's
Ready? Favorite ice cream flavor?
Bluebell has, what is it called? Salted caramel brownie.
Wow.
Really good. My kids put me on it. I just tried it about 2 months ago. Yeah.
Coach, I've never written down an ice cream flavor before, but that made me all right. Stopping on the way home. Greatest shooter of all time.
Curry be the best.
Yeah. The best gym you ever coached in?
Ooh, I like the Lee College facility. So we go to the Lee College Classic. We went the last 2 years, and I mean, it's a lovely, nice facility. And for some reason, for it being like an open arena like that, my kids always shoot well in there. The depth perception doesn't bother them. So
that's why you like it. It's nothing
Lee
to do about
College,
it.
We won some big games in there. So, yeah.
What gym do my players play the best in? That's my favorite gym. That's good. Best basketball movie of all time?
Above the Rim.
Underrated basketball movie.
And that type of movie, for me, it imitates where a lot of like my players kind of environments are, you know. And I don't know if you remember that movie with Tupac and like Dwayne Martin in it.
I loved it. Yeah,
there's some superstars in there. It's a good one.
Coach, one of my favorite lines in that my buddy Jeremy Hopkins we'd always kind of mess around up at 24 Hour Fitness or something, you know, an adult league, and where they're driving and he's out there shooting without a ball. And one of the Wayne's brothers says he's playing with ball without a ball.
Yeah, man. What's his name? Leon. I can't think the actor is Leon or something. Like
Coach, he pulled up to that tournament in some khakis and never missed a shot.
Killed him. Yeah, the whole dude was out there.
Tupac was great in that too. He was great.
He was.
Yeah, man. Texting or talking?
Texting, just because it gets the point across quicker and easier.
Yeah. We're both in Texas. For high school, shot clock or no shot clock?
Shot clock. Definitely.
You think it'll happen?
Man, you know what? I don't think it'll happen. So I feel like if it was gonna happen, it would have happened by now. We got so many states around us that had a shot clock. I hope we do it. TABC sent out a survey and I voted yes. I think the majority of coaches voted yes. So hey, let's see what happens.
SPC already has it. You know, so there is one classification in Texas that has had it for multiple years now. So it can be done. I don't think it would change basketball that much. I think most teams won't even feel it. Obviously, there's going to be growing pains with initial cost to get it set up and who runs it. But like anything else, I think we'll figure it out. I think we'll be okay.
Me too. Because if it's a 30-second shot clock, I mean, most teams are going to shoot within 30 seconds anyway, unless it's like in the game or in the quarter situation where you're trying to hold the ball out. You know, which
ultimately is full circle back to skill development. Like guys be able to make plays because you can't just wear down a defense with a minute-long possession. But favorite holiday?
I don't even know if this is a holiday. I'm going to just say spring break. And the reason why, and I know it's a speed round, but.
No, you're good.
Man, look, Christmas and Thanksgiving, my head is wrapped around basketball. So, yeah, I'm off. But if we got a Christmas tournament and we're going to play these 3 teams, I'm trying to get film. I'm trying to watch. It's almost like Christmas holiday is a time for me to try to get ahead and sort
That's
of go.
right.
Spring break is all family. I got a house full of kids, and I'm just enjoying time with them for a whole week. So for me, I love spring break. It'll probably
Yeah.
be my favorite holiday since I'm a head coach.
A lot of coaches say July 4th, kind of for that same reason. It's so far away from the season, but I agree, spring break. That'd probably be one of mine too. You're up 3 on defense with 5 seconds left. Do you foul or no foul?
No foul.
Play it
No
out.
foul.
If they make the 3, tip our hat.
Absolutely.
We go to overtime.
I've been trusting my defense the whole game. Now, let's say if the other coach calls a timeout with 7 seconds, then that just gives me an opportunity to say, hey, we're not jump tipping threes. We're going to deny one pass away. You're on the ball. We got space on the ball. So we're more really guarding the 3-point line to make sure we get a hand in the face because a 2 doesn't hurt us. Understanding verticality, not to foul on layups, things like that. So that'll give me an opportunity to coach the defense because I feel like I'm a worst case scenario type of coach, man. So for me, let's say you foul them, put them on the line, right? They get 2. He makes the first one, misses the second one, gets a rebound, goes back up, makes it, and you foul him there, right? Those are easy shots. 4-point play and you lose. Now how often does that happen? It might not, but I'm just thinking worst case scenario. I'd rather you take that 3 with a hand in the face than me put you on the free throw line and really shift the game.
I had a coach say too, why in the last moments would we ask our players to do something that usually they get penalized for? Meaning from us, we like if we preach to our players that all fouls are errors, why would we tell them to intentionally do that thing? Because even though I understand the situation of it, it still is a message that's contrary to what we've been telling them for 31 minutes of the game all season long.
Yeah, and players are gonna be what we emphasize. So we've been emphasizing, like you said, certain things. Why change it when it matters the most? Especially if we're winning. We're up 3. It'd be different if we're down and we need to foul, to try to increase possessions of the game to catch up. But nah, I wouldn't do it necessarily.
A favorite place to travel?
I want to go. Say favorite place. It'll be Puerto Rico.
Nice.
Puerto Rico's favorite place to travel.
Okay, yeah, where would you like to go? Kind of a bucket list item.
St. Lucia. So me and my wife took a trip to the West Indies where we went. It was Puerto Rico, St. Thomas, St. Martin, Barbados. It was like that whole chain, but it was bad weather at St. Lucia. So the cruise ship wasn't able to stop there. And so it's been on my bucket list to get back because it just looked so beautiful in the rain as we kept cruising on by. So if I could get to St. Lucia, man, that'll be where I go.
Nice. Okay. How do you drink your coffee?
5. So if it's I get the small cup. So let's say maybe about 12-ounce cup. So I'm gonna get 100% Colombian bean. It's my favorite. And then I got 5 French vanilla creams and 2 sugars in it. So that's my coffee. I try to drink one. I try not to drink a bunch of them sometimes. There's a lady in my hallway that has a Keurig, and I'll kind of go down there and get coffee from her. But yeah, that's pretty much how I drink my coffee.
All right. Last one, Coach, probably most important in basketball. Who is the GOAT?
Oh, boy. So this is my approach, and it might not be answering the question. I believe that there is no GOAT. So why do we need to have one guy that's just better than everybody? Because when you think about it, you can't really compare these guys across their eras.
Yep.
So if everybody just said, hey, we're going to have a tiered system, tier 1 is going to be LeBron, it's going to be Jordan. Maybe you could throw Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, just the best guys in their era. And then the tier 2 will be, who are other impactful players, because my players kind of do that a lot where they talk about who's the GOAT with, Michael Jordan and LeBron James. But I think if you really want to know who it is, you can't really measure it. And a lot of times when people tell you, it's just based on feel. Like, well, I saw Michael Jordan when I was a kid more, so I'm just going with Jordan because I'm an older guy, or the younger
Eyes,
guys are.
analytics, and gut right there. You got to take those three through the approach of the GOAT. But, Coach, you're one of the first people, I think, ever to refuse to actually answer the question, and you dodged it and moved around it with this tier system approach. But I do appreciate the way you thought about it.
Yeah, man, I don't know who's the GOAT. I mean, shoot. I think you could put a lot of guys up
That's
there.
right. No, it is the answer. Like there, it's impossible to say, and so much of it has to do with the era that when you were like impressionable as a teenager and as a young adult. Like that was Jordan. You know, I wasn't a big Kobe guy. He was in my that was in my 20s, and you know, I was playing. I wasn't, and then LeBron. Yeah, there's the greatness there, but like I watched Jordan and I watched Last Dance, you know, so it's like, but then people before me, golly, Magic, Bird, and then you Kareem. Well, like it's impossible. But and then I do like the tiered approach because then you bring into the question, okay, who were some of the game changers? Like how Steph Curry has changed basketball,
Yes,
the
he
way it's
has.
played at every level. You can't say
Mhm.
that for some of the other goats, you know, that are kind of thrown around. But man, no, that's good, Coach. This was so enjoyable, man. You and I have no connection before this, but isn't that the cool thing about basketball and coaching is this kind of fraternity that we have? I feel like I've known you for a long time. That was awesome.
Yeah, because I think when you love the game and you devote so much time to it, you find commonality with people you didn't know just because of basketball. And I tell my kids all the time, basketball take you around the world, man, but it also help you build relationships with people a lot quicker than it may take in other areas of life, just because you both love the same thing. So again, I appreciate you having me on this platform, man. It's a very prestigious platform, and I'm blessed to be a part of it.
If anybody has questions and wants to learn a little bit more about you, follow you, your program, how can they do that?
So my program, we have a page on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and it's at Soho Basketball. Okay. And then my personal pages are just at Frank Watson, underscore Frank Watson. I think Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, just Frank Watson. So
Nice.
that's how you can follow us. Also, follow South Houston High School. We got some good programs here going. And this school is a really good school to go to if you're in Pasadena ISD. So also you can follow South Houston High School, just typing in those words, South Houston High School, on all those various social media pages.
Nice. Coach, this was awesome, man. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Thank you for checking out today's episode. Please take a moment to subscribe to this podcast, share it with your fellow coaches, and find us on social media for what's coming up next on the Jamodi podcast. It's just a matter of doing it.